Now, in the early stages of life, it's the stereotype, isn't it, of like being very excitable and being somewhat heedless. Think of like teenagers just causing trouble. We've all been there. I know I certainly have, but I can't speak for anyone else. But there comes a point where you're living blissfully unaware of your own mortality. And maybe as a result, not actually living authentically. Maybe you are living according to the dictums of others, parents, friends, society. But at some point, perhaps gradually, perhaps piecemeal, perhaps in even a single traumatic event, we come up against the reality of our own finitude, our own mortality. We're going to die someday. The body's going to die, and not least that parts of us are dying all the time. So at some point, for some, this happens at midlife. And one reason for that is simply because it is a sort of time-bound reminder of mortality. Whoa, like I'm halfway through my life. And that means that suddenly I have a kind of sense of how long life is. Because when you're 12 years old, when you're 18 years old, just young, aren't you? But as you start to proceed and live longer, I mean, the difference between 18 and 35 doesn't necessarily feel like such a long time. It's half your life, approximately. But wow, I'm halfway through my life already. I can sort of have a sense of that now. So there's a kind of this impending sense of mortality. And that means we have a choice. We can either negate the negation, we can sublate, which is what the mind really wants to do ultimately. It's what spirit wants to do. And that inevitably leads us to living more authentically. Okay, I'm only alive for another, who knows how long, hopefully a long time, but I have some sense of the impermanence of my life now. So what else is there to do other than live it authentically? So of course, it's quite a brave decision because it means coming to terms with your own mortality. It means working through that energetic resistance of feeling. There's no getting around that. But an alternative choice is actually to deny that, and it's actually to fight harder and cope harder and to lunge with ever greater further towards coping mechanisms and ways of making that thought go away and pushing all those feelings away because you just don't want to go near them. So this might be when you have the classic midlife crisis and this kind of thing. And it's actually a very valuable time because it's sort of like do or die. Like when that message is knocking, it's wise to listen and make good of it. If one chooses instead just to push it away perpetually, well, there's many, many examples of people who never really have midlife. They might be 80 years old, but they've never really come to terms with their own mortality. Well, what's so bad about mortality? It'd be kind of strange if nothing ever died, right?